I think the new connector design for the Joy-Con is crap. Those little nubs are gonna snap off so easily, it'll be the thing that replaces Joy-Con drift. I don't know about that one. Welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes with Jake. It's been a long time. Now that the Switch 2 is coming out, I wanted to try and be relevant as a retro gaming channel and talk about my thoughts and your thoughts on the Switch 2. What I'm going to do today is read your hot takes on the Switch 2, and then I'm going to respond with what I think. Over on YouTube, Trooper7245 says, DK's new design is better. What? This is probably one of my, if not my biggest frustration with this new generation. I don't like the new DK design. I didn't like it in the Mario movie. I don't like it here. However, I do think that Donkey Kong Bonanza might just be my favorite game of the Switch 2 generation. It's very, very early to say that, but I'm very excited for it. It gives me Mario Odyssey vibes. That's my favorite 3D Mario. It's one of my favorite Switch games. I'm very excited for DK Bonanza, but I'm not excited to look at DK's face because I just don't like this face. I like the old design. It's what I grew up with. Like, yeah, maybe he was due for a redesign, but like, I don't know. I don't think Mario has changed this dramatically over the years. I just, it's the eyes, man. It's what it is. It's the eyes. He looks too cartoony here. I don't like it. I'm not going to say that the last design was realistic looking, but I just like old DK better. I'm sorry, Trooper. You're wrong. Before people get upset with me in the comments for this video, you can have your opinions, Trooper. I'm sorry. I'm teasing you. It's a video. It's for fun. I hope nobody takes this too seriously. My hot take, I don't care that it's not OLED. Why? Because it's seemingly got a great LCD that is HDR. And honestly, I don't play my Switch in handheld that often anyways. And I have a beautiful LG OLED TV that I'm going to be able to dock this thing into. I'll be able to hit 4K 60 or 1080 120, no problem. And I'm still going to have HDR support, and I'm going to have it on a beautiful OLED screen. So I don't care that it's not an OLED for the handheld version. I'm sure they'll come out with an OLED version in the future, like they did with the Switch 1, assuming that this does as well as the Switch 1, or well enough. LaxDude42 says, I think the new connector design for the Joy-Con is crap. Those little nubs are going to snap off so easily, it'll be the thing that replaces Joy-Con drift. I don't know about that one. I have arguments for and against your claim here. I could definitely see a little kid's hands getting in there and like just pressing on that little connector and snapping it off. Do I think that a child's finger is strong enough to snap that connector? I don't know. I'd have to see it in person. But do I think that they could jam something in there and use it with some leverage to snap it off? Absolutely. But if they do that, they deserve what comes with it. Don't mess with it. It'll be a learning lesson for those children. And if you're an adult and you do that, you're just dumb, okay? I think you're going to have to forcefully try and break it off. I do not think this is something that's going to break off just on accident or easily. Maybe if you drop it in a weird way, it might break off. But from what I've seen in the coverage of the Switch 2 so far, I believe what the people are saying, and they think it's not going to be an issue because those magnets are so strong. And I don't think you can physically bend the Joy-Con 2 in a way after you've detached the magnet that it would be able to bend that thing. I think you're going to have to physically and mentally try to break it for it to break. But do I think it's thin and breakable? Probably, yeah. I just don't think it's going to be something on the level of Joy-Con drift. That's my guess. Inky Blitz says, I was sick of Nintendo's censorship and greed during the Wii U days, and I am tired of these smash hit franchises like Splatoon not getting the full ambitious focus of other games, with the devs instead forced to split between that and Animal Crossing, whose latest game was extremely boring despite high sales. Can't wait for Splatoon 1.9, Splatoon 4, and to have all the content slowly released to me again. I've never played Splatoon. The closest I've come to playing Splatoon is playing as an Inkling in Smash. It doesn't seem interesting at all to me. I'm sorry. I think I can see where you're coming from, though. It is a little weird seeing that we have 2 Splatoons for the Switch, and I don't think Splatoon 2 was received that poorly. So like I don't see there being a need for a Splatoon 3 on the Switch other than just having another campaign. But I feel like people play it for the multiplayer. I feel like it's Nintendo's Call of Duty. I think Inky Blitz might be having some jealousy from other games like Call of Duty that do get a lot of focus, or like live service games that get new updates every week and month. Like look at Destiny 2. It's been out for a long time, but they're just continuing to give it updates. Looking at like Marvel Rivals, it's a free to play game and it gets updates all the time and people are loving it. So I can see the frustration there. I feel like calling out Animal Crossing was not necessary. New Horizons was awesome. It was a really good Animal Crossing. I don't know if it was the best in the series, but there was a reason why a lot of people bought it. Yes, that had to do with the pandemic and everything like that. The timing of that was great for Nintendo, even though it was delayed until March of 2020. It was supposed to come out in like December or November. It was supposed to be a holiday game for 2019, and it ended up being 2020, literally releasing the month the pandemic started. And so I think that game, it was definitely a surprise for Nintendo for it to do that well. But to say it was a bad game, I think is a bit of a stretch. I think it's just not your kind of game, because Splatoon and this are wildly different. And there's just some part of me that thinks maybe you have a little bit of bias towards liking Splatoon. I don't know what it is, but let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with Inky Blitz or any of the people's ideas that I talk about today. It's too large to be a portable console and yet too small to be a competitively powerful console. I disagree. I think it's going to be more powerful than the Steam Deck. I think it's going to be like on par with the ROG Ally. And Nintendo seems to optimize their games better than other companies. Before you type Pokemon in the comments, the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are two separate entities. Just want to make that clear. Nintendo does not own the Pokemon Company. They have stake in the Pokemon Company. They do not own it. Anyways, Nintendo games have a lot more polish than other games, and it's on weaker hardware. It's almost always been on weaker hardware. The N64 is like the only time I can think of where Nintendo actually had the more powerful console. But even then, it was held back substantially because it was a cartridge and not a CD. I don't know about the size. I don't mind the size of my Steam Deck, so I don't think that size is going to be an issue here, especially since it is as thin as the original Switch. I think it's going to be better with the size of the Joy-Cons. I think it's going to be more comfortable, but I don't know. We'll see about that. TBD on my thoughts. Hawksbane says Nintendo is easing us toward changes I think are inevitable. Game key cards are disappointing, but they could have removed physical cards entirely, and they didn't do that yet. Seeing the new game prices hurt, but the upgrade packs for some games are super nice. I agree. The game key card situation definitely sucks. At first, I was like, that's not bad. But seeing how many third-party developers are just going with the game key card route immediately, it's just really saddening as a video game collector. I don't know yet if I'm going to collect these game key cards. There is hope. VGP did come out saying that they want to help these people who decide to go the game key card route. They want to help them make their games actually fit on real cards. And I really hope that a lot of publishers take them up on that. We need these games on physical cards and actually have the games on physical cards because of video game preservation. Like the Yoshi Fanatic says, you won't be able to download the game once the servers are taken offline. That is what I'm worried about. I do like the fact that we can end up selling these later down the line to someone else. So it does have that benefit over buying the digital copy. You're not just stuck with the digital copy. If you want to sell it later down the line, if you're done with it, say you don't want to play Street Fighter 6 anymore. Your Street Fighter 7 came out and you're like, yeah, Street Fighter 6, whatever. That's old news. You can sell it to somebody else and you can make some of that money back. I do like that. But thinking about the future when the Switch 2 eShop inevitably shuts down 10 years from now or however long it stays up, what then? How many games are we going to lose to time? That is a very bleak future. But I agree with Hawksbane saying that Nintendo is easing us in towards these changes that are inevitable. I don't know if the next generation of consoles will even have physical games. I think at most we would see something like this, but like, is the PSX even gonna have a disc drive? The PS5 Pro doesn't come with a disc drive. You have to buy it separately. There's no model that you can buy that has it pre-installed. Half of all PS5s don't have a disc drive. You might be able to add one, but eventually you won't be able to add a disc drive to your PS5. So add one now before the support goes away, because you have to link your disc drive to your console using these servers. Isn't that fun? So I'm very mixed on the game key cards. I do like that we can sell it later down the line. I like that we can share it with friends, but then they just put out the virtual game sharing thing that also seems kind of weird, but I don't think it's as bad as game key cards. At least physically, I could give my friend this game key card and let them borrow it. But then if I could do it digitally, I'd probably just do that so they don't have the chance to lose my physical copy of the game. So yeah, I don't know. I would just rather everything come out fully on a cartridge. At least it's better than getting a code in a case and there's nothing in there. I don't like that. I never liked that. Glenn Topher on Instagram says it's priced completely reasonably for a new console. Mario actually costs less than Mario Kart 64 with inflation. I was imagining that this console would come out at $400, at $399 USD. I was a little bit shocked to see it come out at $450. And then I was like, you know what? With the tariff situation going on, $450 seems fair. And then I realized later that no, that wasn't accounting for the tariffs yet. They paused pre-orders for the US, and I was like, oh man, what is this price gonna be? Thankfully, it didn't change. I locked in my pre-order at $500 with Mario Kart World. I want to get Mario Kart World physically, but I don't want it physically that bad to spend $30 extra on it. We'll talk about game prices in a minute. Even though I wish it would have been $400, I think everybody wishes everything was cheaper, but I don't think $450 is outrageous. We're talking PS4, arguably PS4 Pro level of game quality. It's going to rival your ROG Allies. I think it's going to look better than the Steam Deck. It's going to be a really powerful hybrid console. It's going to do 4K 60. It's going to do 1080 120. It's going to do 720p 120 in handheld. I think. I don't think it's going to hit 1080p 120 in handheld. Like, it's insane. And it's just as thin as the Switch 1. So I don't think that the price is that absurd. I think it's a fair price. If you don't want it, don't buy it. At first, I thought Nintendo was on some sort of drug when they put out $80 for Mario Kart World. I'm still like, that's too much. But it's not as bad knowing that I can get it bundled for $50. Looking at the direct for Mario Kart World, I do see why they think it's valued at $80, especially when you look at the sales for Mario Kart 8. Even on the Wii U, it sold a lot. It sold very well. It is far and away the best-selling Switch game, and it's just a port of an old game. So yes, I understand they're going to take advantage of the fact that people love their Mario Kart, but it seems like they actually put in the effort to make it an $80 game. We'll see. I think if you're putting that much effort into a game like Mario Kart and you want to justify the new normal of $70 a game, I think that's fair. What I don't like is I think that them coming out saying it's an $80 game gave Xbox the justification to make their games $80, which that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to get into in this video. Xbox raising their prices is the dumbest move of the century in video games. But I don't want Sony to come out and say, you know what, 80, maybe even 90 is a good price for a video game. Either way, nowadays, I don't really buy games at launch unless I'm like really, really excited about it. And if I do, I'm going to use my red card and get 5% off. Thank you, Target. Not a sponsor. Mario Kart World costing less than Mario Kart 64 with inflation is insane. But yes, video games actually used to cost more back in the day. Looking at old video game catalogs from before I was born is wild to me. The fact that people in the 90s would pay like $90 for a video game, I don't think I could convince my mom to buy a like $200-$300 console and then also spend like $100 on a video game? I don't know. It's crazy looking back at that stuff. But yeah, I don't know if that justifies the new prices of video games being that high. Yeah, spending $100 on video games nowadays isn't that crazy. It doesn't feel as much of a gut punch as it did 30 years ago. But accounting for inflation from 1990 to now, I don't think is that fair. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm not an economist. JP the Great Gaming on Instagram says, should have been called the Super Nintendo Switch. I disagree heavily. Probably disagree the most with this compared to anything else we've talked about today. While the Super Switch would have been cool and nostalgic, looking back at the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, I was not a child of the 80s. I was barely even a child of the 90s. I don't have nostalgia for it. I think it would have been cool initially, just like the first time I heard someone say that, I thought that was cool. But if you look at the history of Nintendo, the very recent history of Nintendo, consumers were confused when the Wii U came out. Consumers were confused when the 3DS came out. Yes, the Super Switch would be a cool name for us diehard Nintendo fans, for people who know video games and video game history. Yes, it would have been cool. But the fact of the matter is, Nintendo has to sell this to the masses. You had the Wii and the DS that sold like hotcakes because so many people from all walks of life wanted to play these games. It was marketed to everybody. We're talking people who didn't know what an NES was or N64. They probably couldn't spell it. They maybe knew what Nintendo was because people's moms back in the day would just call every video game system a Nintendo. And that's the point I'm trying to get at. People knew the Wii, people knew the DS. And so when you say the 3DS or the Wii U, people thought that those were just accessories for the Wii and the 3DS. They didn't understand that it was a whole new console. They didn't understand why you needed to upgrade from the Wii or the DS. And so if you have the Switch, which 150 million Switches have sold, I have like 6 different Switch systems myself, but you have so many units sold. It's so well known. It is so popular right now. If you came out with the Super Switch, people would not know. Gamers like me would know. Gamers like you would know. But Billy's mom down the street would be like, no, you already got a Switch. So you don't need a super one. But if you see the number 2 on the box, that is universally known as, oh, that is something different. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that does look different from Timmy's little iPad, you know? So as cool as it would be, the Super Switch would not be a good name. It would probably not be as bad as something like the Wii U or the 3DS, but it's just not marketable. It's not going to be easily understood by the masses. And honestly, the more I hear about it, it's just not that good. I just don't really like it. But again, you're entitled to your own opinion, and that's what this whole video is about. I just wanted to share some opinions. Anyways, what are your thoughts on all the things we talked about today? Do you agree with me? Why or why not? Let me know in those comments down below. If I missed something, leave your hottest take on the Switch 2 down below. I might make some additional shorts about any comments that are left here that I feel like I should have included in this video. Otherwise, for the next episode of Hot Takes with Jake, I would like to know your guys' hottest takes on the various console wars throughout all of video game history. I'm talking Sega versus Nintendo. I'm talking about 360 versus PS3 versus Wii, PlayStation versus Xbox as a whole. Let me know your hottest takes. Because my hottest take is Xbox should bow out. Xbox should just become a third-party publisher like Sega. Stop selling consoles. You never really were the best, and your time in the sun is over. I'll expand on that more in the next episode. But that's about it for me. So like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. This was a fun little video to make. I really like making these videos because I love talking. I love expressing my opinion, and I love playing the devil's advocate.